We're designed to be in community. We've never been designed to be alone. We have to begin to take the risk of telling the truth, of speaking things that are real, of going back into our histories and into our shacks and talking about our great sadnesses. Hi, this is Jennifer Packham. Welcome, my friend, to Defining Moments Vlogs. Have you ever had a defining moment that shattered you, leaving you to piece together meaning from chaos, redefining everything? In these vlogs, I share experiences that were written in my journals about my life-altering, defining moments, followed by reflective perspectives, what I could have done differently, and how God guided me. I begin with my husband's brain injury and his personality change, and then continue with other difficult, defining moments and the wisdom I've gained because of them. It is my hope that they will bring you renewed possibilities, clarity, and faith in your toughest moments. This is vlog episode number 7. It was January of 1992. I felt like I was hanging on the edge of a cliff, physically and emotionally. My husband had been home from the hospital for over 4 months after surviving a 75-foot rock climbing fall and subsequent brain injury. I'd like to say recovering from his severely broken ankles was the most difficult at that time, but it was just one of the endless things that plagued him. The doctor who did his original surgery on his ankles wasn't sure he would ever walk again, but after they removed all the plates and screws from his ankles, which were healing as good as could be expected, he began finally walking with crutches. The hard part was trying to get him not to walk home without his crutches for many miles whenever he couldn't manage his intense fight or flight emotions. Other things were difficult, like how the sound of our baby crying made him crazy. He also wanted to move far away. Moving away can sometimes be a healthy change, but in our situation, my husband was trying to escape a reality he couldn't run from, himself. Changing his environment wouldn't change what he felt inside. I also knew being away from my family would be like severing a lifeline for me. He even spoke about divorce. In one of my journal entries from January 1992, I went on to say, "The past couple of weeks and months have been nearly the hardest I've ever been through. He is so very different. He does things I cannot understand, and he thinks things I cannot comprehend. It seems we are constantly fighting. When he gets frustrated, which is almost hourly, he is impossible to live with. He also wakes up early in the morning or stays up most of the night worrying about things he has absolutely no control over and tries to find a solution, or just worries because his mind is too hard to control. It's getting to the point where he's not even able to sleep at all. He has started not eating because all food tastes and smells like wet cardboard. This smell made him nauseous and throw up all the time. I finally called the doctor. I was tired of him going to the store and buying stuff to make the house smell good. He would buy Lysol and spray the whole house until the can was gone. He was incredibly down and depressed. Most of this happened just after he was put on an antidepressant. 3 weeks later, I noticed him starting to get even worse. He noticed it too, so he stopped taking the pills, and they prescribed new medications, tranquilizers, antibiotics for his nasal passages just in case, and pills for his stomach. The doctor informed us that ulcers and head injuries go hand in hand, but he didn't have an ulcer, and none of these prescriptions worked. I wish I had known that doctors and psychiatrists can only prescribe medication. His brain was paralyzed. It was physically still there, but it no longer worked. In his brain scans, his right frontal and temporal lobes showed only gray matter, without any activity, and no amount of medication would change that. Continuing again from my journal entry in January 1992, I wrote, "I went through a period of him threatening to kill himself every day. He would tell me all the gory ways of doing it and all the ways no one would ever think of. He told me if he were to ever really do it, he wouldn't tell anyone, but he would just do it. I got so paranoid, I wouldn't leave him alone. I wouldn't let him go for walks alone because he would always threaten that he wasn't going to come back. I realized I could call our neighbor and he would give him a blessing or talk to him, and it would help some. We are back to literally living one day at a time, just like when he was in the hospital, for that is the only thing we can see." Trying to never let him be alone in the extreme stress I was under wasn't the healthiest choice. I was just beginning to grasp the mental and emotional disabilities he had and how they impacted my own state of mind. A suicidal person needs someone mentally stable to sit with them, with empathy and love, and gently guide them back to reality. I couldn't be that person for my husband because I desperately needed that myself. Though I wasn't suicidal yet, I was severely emotionally impaired and unable to give him the support he required. I needed to release emotions that sat consistently just under the surface, like random memories of the ICU that would trigger waves of indescribable loneliness and heartache, leaving me crying uncontrollably. I was physically, mentally, emotionally drained, exhausted, and tired. So very tired. Again, in my journal entry from January 1992, I wrote, "One night I got so sick of him complaining and being frustrated that I finally started screaming at him and I couldn't stop. I ran outside without shoes on in the snow, in the middle of the street, bawling, and no one heard me. It was below freezing. I was running so hard I couldn't feel anything, not even the cold. It was so weird. I saw my husband drive by with our baby and instantly thought of her. I thought he might take her away from me, so I ran back home and into the house, but no one was there. When he finally drove up, I ran out and picked up our baby. I was sobbing uncontrollably. I was unable to even breathe right. At that time, I was in a constant state of unrest and tension, a state of fight or flight. I know I did the best I could, and it was rare when I was out of control. I tried so hard to stay positive. I kept my faith that things would get better. It's kind of ironic how my favorite song for most of my life has been Things Can Only Get Better by Howard Jones. I've since learned when emotions are not felt and released in a safe way, the body holds on to them. My body was showing physical symptoms from not feeling my feelings. With all the stress, my body was trembling continuously, and I was having 2 periods a month for almost 7 months after our baby was born. I was thrust into a world of mental disability, confusion, contention, emotional turmoil, unlike anything I'd ever experienced. I felt completely lost. I needed a constant reality check and emotional releases with someone who could sit with me with genuine love and empathy, not just merely a counselor who listens without personal understanding or invested emotional care. I had talked to many of those. It's imperative in times of severe stress like this to have a support group, to make a list of people who will be there for you day or night, those who are willing to help even if they don't know what to do, who will stay with you until you feel safe, even just for that moment, people who will defer to the next person if they're not available. Please don't do what I did. I felt like no one would understand, and they usually didn't, so I tried to manage things on my own. And when people don't understand, don't stop reaching out to God, please. Ultimately, I had to cling to God for support. In 2 Nephi 22:22, it says, "Behold, God is my salvation. I will trust and not be afraid, for the Lord Jehovah is my strength and my song. He has also become my salvation." It didn't always feel God's hand helping me or giving me the peace or answers I felt I needed. As Elder David A. Bednar taught, there is no physical pain, anguish, or weakness we can experience that the Savior does not know. You and I, in a moment of weakness, may cry out, "No one understands what I am going through." No human being perhaps knows, but the Son of God perfectly knows and understands. And why? Because he felt and bore our burdens before we ever did. When Jesus hung on the cross, he said, my God, why hast thou forsaken me?" There were so many times I felt completely alone and that God was not hearing me. It's easy to see now, looking back, that everything that's happened to me was for me. Lessons I see now I couldn't have learned in any other way. Elder Holland said, "How could we believe it would be easy for us when it was never, ever easy for him?" Sometimes things feel extraordinarily hard, but as we consistently rely on God for our strength and support, knowing what we do as we try to rely on him will not be perfect, But we keep doing the best we can, whatever that is, and it is good enough. And we will always be good enough for Him. And He is always there, even in those times we may feel completely alone. In my next vlog, I begin to understand what the social worker told me. He would remember who he used to be, but not be able to be that person ever again. Imagine remembering who you were, yet not being able to be that person again. Remember, until next time, keep on keeping on with God.